Does Hollywood hate Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? Years after the couple moved there after Brexit, it seems like Hollywood is finally starting to turn its back on Harry and Meghan. And they have just so much disdain for the couple who have entered the industry with arrogance and have yet to live up to the hype. And the whole industry knows this. In fact, I've been saying this for a long time. I think ARO, American Riviera Orchard, is their last gasp at anything in the entertainment industry because nobody is impressed with them. Everyone is turned off by them. And as it seems, we might have an indication that William Morris and Endeavor, the talent management agency Meghan signed up with, might be not only maybe have they dropped her for lack of really doing anything of note, but they may have been active in the Hollywood Reporter hit piece against Harry and Meghan, which revealed that Meghan has continued, allegedly, her bullying ways in California. And this is all contained within a Daily Mail article going over really how the industry has gained this real dislike for Harry and Meghan. And it's not a surprise. They're not making anyone money. People in Hollywood, they're willing to overlook a lot of things. But if you're not bankable, if you're not successful, if you can't make any money, Hollywood is going to move on to the next thing. And it's definitely not Harry and Meghan. So we're going to explore this article because there are so many great little bits here about how Harry and Meghan, despite having the most wonderful and amazing opportunities in the world to be utterly and completely successful, have completely and utterly squandered that opportunity. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. And I just did want to remind everyone, I know I've been mentioning it for a while, but we only have about a month left. So if you are interested in signing up potentially to go on a trip to Europe during Christmas time. Now, this will be a week before Christmas, ending on the 22nd, and we will be going to Germany and the Czech Republic. So, if you guys are interested in that trip, spending some time in Europe in Christmas, just enjoying the scenery and meeting some new and amazing friends, or maybe some old friends, because I know a couple of people are returning, feel free to check out the link up above. I would love to have you join us. We will be going to Berlin, Dresden, and Prague. There's another stop in between there to a small or German village, but we will have a fantastic, wonderful, and amazing time. And we would love more friends to join. So if, again, you want to check that out, go ahead and click the link up above. So last week, we had the Hollywood Reporter sharing that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had seemingly continued their bullying ways, particularly Meghan. And it seems like a lot of the stuff against the couple is really more targeted at Meghan than Harry. And I think part of it is that Harry's more likable, but Harry's also the novice. When it comes to, I think, the entertainment industry overall, they got the deals because of Meghan. Meghan, I think, can talk a good game. And so companies were willing to invest in them. And they found out now, a couple of years later, that was a pretty bad investment. And so they're starting to turn on Harry and Meghan, and so is the rest of the industry. I think Oprah Winfrey's not all that friendly with them anymore. Despite what this article says, I don't think Kris Jenner is all that close with them either. People are keeping a little bit of distance besides a select few. And even maybe some of those, like Tyler Perry, is he really all that close to him? Or is it beneficial right now for him to potentially still keep in good contact with them? I don't know. But let's get into this article because, again, there's just so much important things going on here. And I feel like the Hollywood Reporter has sort of pulled the mask off of Harry and Meghan and shown the entertainment industry, which they all read that publication, that Harry and Meghan are trouble. They're poor business managers. They make poor decisions. They alienate their staff, and they're not two people who can really be trusted. So this, of course, is a kiss of death in the entertainment industry. And I feel like more and more people are feeling comfortable sharing about it. So here is the title of the article. And now there is a genuine dislike towards Harry and Meghan because remember, when they signed the deal with Netflix, Hollywood was riding high. Streaming was huge. And there were the streaming wars. So everyone wanted to get some of the best people on their team. And Netflix was handing out novelty deals, I think is how the article describes it, like candy, because Harry and Meghan were a novelty. And it's like, oh, let's see, we have plenty of money to burn. That's not that way anymore. And Harry and Meghan's, I think, arrogance and how they've approached this entire time in Hollywood is really rubbing people the wrong way because what Harry and Meghan have done, which I think again is terrible for them to do, is they don't do any promotion for anything. They don't do any marketing. They do nothing. They just expect the people on social media, the Sussex stands, whatever, to promote it. And the reality is, yes, I talk about it. Yes, people who are watching Royals talk about it, but real world people, They don't care. And you need to do the things everybody else in Hollywood does, like go on multiple channels, open yourself up to potentially difficult questions. And Harry and Meghan, and I think especially Meghan, she is so paranoid and controlling. She just can't let that happen. So let's look at this. So I like the Shorten feud. I don't know exactly. It is a German word, but it starts off, and we won't read all of this, but starts off a bit talking about this WME party that happened after the Emmys. And of course, who wasn't there? Harry and Meghan, nor were they at the Emmys themselves. Now, this is not a huge surprise because, again, Harry and Meghan seem to only want to go to award ceremonies if they're going to win something. But the reality here is these award events are networking opportunities. And so if they don't go, they're losing out on opportunities to network because, again, they're so arrogant. They think they don't have to do certain things. But Hollywood, of course, is a place where you do have to schmooze and stuff. And they've done a bit of that, but I don't think enough. Of course, talking about how one of Ari Emanuel's most famous clients, and Meghan, who signed with him in April 2023. Now, think of it. It's been over a year. What has Meghan accomplished? It's been a year and 5 months. What in the world have they been a part of at all with Harry and Meghan, or in particular Meghan? I don't think WME has really done anything for her, but she hasn't done anything for them either. She's kind of a dead duck or lame duck. I don't know what you would call her, but it's not going anywhere. And it talks about how just 3 days before was the brutal takedown by the Hollywood Reporter, labeled her Duchess difficult. And so she knew she was going to be asked questions. So even if she was invited, she's like, I don't want to go. Same thing with the recent charity appearance by Harry in Santa Barbara. She didn't want to be asked about Duchess difficult and other articles like this. And so I think she decided not to go and just claimed to be sick. I don't think she wanted to go. So, and it talks about how Meghan has not made a TV show since Netflix incendiary Harry and Meghan documentary in 2022, which has quotes around it or something. Harry went on to be featured in a Talking Head documentary about his Invictus Games, which went out in 2023 to some of the lowest ratings of the year on Netflix. Yes, it was lower rating. I got more watches, 100,000 more views for my reaction video to Harry's Heart of Invictus than Harry got for Heart of Invictus. That's bad. And she hasn't been a part of any sort of TV show since Harry and Meghan. And that did well, but it wasn't a good documentary. It did well because it exposed things about the palace and the royals and everything. And that's why people watched it. Without that, it was a crappy documentary. It was not very good, to be honest. So it talks about, whether or not they were invited to go or not. The article was still being talked about. They stayed home. And it says it matters if you work in TV and don't go to the Emmys. Again, because Harry and Meghan are so arrogant that they think they don't have to do the industry things. Because again, they have this pseudo belief in their status as royals, meaning that they don't have to, let's say, schlum it like other people in Hollywood. When the other people in Hollywood are like, you kind of need to do these things. And people notice, like it says, people notice and judge which rung of the ladder you are on accordingly. So if they're not going, it looks bad because it looks like nobody invited them because nobody wanted them there. It's bad for them. One senior figure who has watched Harry and Meghan's progress in Hollywood with interest said this week that they seem to be reaping the kind of schadenfreude with extra venom at which the entertainment business excels. So what this means, in case you are curious, because I was curious what this means. It says pleasure derived by someone from another person's misfortune. So they are enjoying Harry and Meghan's misfortune. They're taking pleasure in it. And some of that, again, comes from the fact that Harry and Meghan came into the industry with big heads, made big promises, and couldn't deliver. And they still can't deliver. And Meghan, again, did the stupid thing of she had to traipsed around on the front of Variety, The Cut. She promoted herself up the wazoo, but didn't bring anything to the table. And after a while, people see that and they're sort of enjoying their failure. He adds, it was a matter of time before the industry press started taking shots. It's hard to find anyone with a good word to say for their film and television credibility, which I agree with. Heart of Invictus was bad. I thought their documentary, Harry and Meghan, was bad. And I didn't even watch Live Till Eat because that looked like nails on a chalkboard awful. And Meghan's podcast was terrible. It was really, really bad. It was so overproduced. And what is selling right now is authenticity, which is the one thing Meghan can't do. She's not authentic. She's too worried that people see the real her, they won't like her. And so she does this thing where she's trying to be authentic, but it doesn't work because she's not being authentic, because you have to be authentic to be authentic, you know? So it's just none of it is working. And if they can't sell authenticity, they don't have a brand, they don't have a market, they have nothing. And he can sell authenticity, which I think is why people like him more than they like her. She can't do it because she is so terrified of showing people who she truly is, which I think is a person who is vain, vapid, and shallow. And those are not, you could say, ringing endorsements of her character. But I think people would actually buy into her more if she stopped with the fake altruism, if she stopped with the fake, oh, what was victim narrative and all these sorts of things, and actually just admitted, hey, I'm just here for the money. So buy my stuff so I can make money. I mean, the Kardashians do it pretty well. I think Meghan Markle could do it well too. Like, she just, though, has to admit that she's not this deep person she claims to be, and that she's not this industry person or something like that. Again, she masks all her insecurities with all this stuff that's just not ringing true to people. And I think she'd actually find bigger fans if she stopped with the fakeness, because what people are seeing through with her is how fake she is. She's incredibly fake and she's incredibly desperate for attention. The attention thing is what I first glommed onto, but I think a lot of other people, was the engagement interview, how she treated Harry, how her time in the royal family, how she treated Catherine and the rest of the royals, how she tried to steal the thunder from Eugenie's wedding. And people just see her and they just think she's fake. And she needs to be able to address that. And she can't, because again, the real Meghan is someone she doesn't think anyone will like, because she doesn't really like the real Meghan. If she can't accept herself, why does she think anyone else can? And that's the greatest lesson. She just needs to accept the reality of who she actually is rather than trying to fake it, because it's her faking it that's what's killing her career. The article in the Hollywood Reporter was published on September 12th, headed Why Hollywood Keeps Quitting on Harry and Meghan. It was ostensibly about their chief of staff, Josh Kettler, leaving after only 3 months, as first revealed in this newspaper by Richard Eden in his diary pages. Yes, Richard was the first one to do it because I think, this is just my theory, Josh told him, I have quit. And he wanted to make sure he got it out first before Harry and Meghan tried to spin it as, oh, he was just temp. We were just seeing how he fit in. This guy is not a temp. And he knew that that's what they would do. He 100% knew that that's what they would do because they're underhanded people. And so he knew the truth wouldn't get out there, that he quit. And he wanted people to know what the truth was. And mentioned their woeful record in hanging on to staff, those leaving, including Tanya, their global press secretary, Christine, all these sorts of people. A source claimed to the Hollywood Reporter, everyone's terrified of Meghan. She belittles people. She doesn't take advice. They're both poor decision makers. They change their minds frequently. Harry is a very, very charming person, no errors at all, but he's very much an enabler, and she's just terrible. Another source said she's absolutely relentless. She marches around like a dictator in high heels, fuming and barking orders. I've watched her reduce grown men to tears. And just to get an idea of who and what their fans are like, their fans were putting up on Twitter and stuff, oh, I have to learn how to do that. Meghan should write a book on that. Well, I'm sure if Meghan Markle did that to your sons, you would be up in arms about it. So stop with the trying to promote her as this great feminist icon for belittling men. It's not attractive quality to anyone. And it's not a good look as a business manager. Stop celebrating her failures here. It's not going to end well for her, because guess what? If she's awful to her staff, they're going to leave and they're going to talk, which is what we're seeing now. The startling allegations described by a source close to the couple as inaccurate and one-sided. It is not. And that was probably the GBN article, which was horrid. It's like, it was a terrible attempt to try to deflect, talking about, well, she can't walk around barking orders in high heels. She doesn't come to the LA office. And I'm like, well, that's a lie, because she spends a lot of time in LA. She's been photographed at the Beverly Hills Hotel. We've been told multiple times she holds a lot of meetings there. She spends a lot of time in Hollywood and in Los Angeles because she was kind of stupid and bought a house, or had Harry buy them a house way up north. So she has to have this long commute in to quote unquote work or network with people. And so that's completely and utterly a lie. The other thing was that she put on her as her email signature that, even though I sent you this email, your work hours are not my work hours. And I'm like, if you have to put that in an email, that means the email situation where she sends you an email at 5 a.m. and seems to probably want to respond by 5:15 a.m. is probably wrong. It's probably made up. Oh gosh, it was in GBN News. I mean, it was so embarrassingly bad. It was so embarrassingly bad. Yeah. So recall the kerfluffle in 2018 over whether Meghan had bullied staff at Buckingham Palace. There was an investigation after complaints and concerns were raised, but its results have never been made public, and I think they should be made public. But again, why they were made public is not because it absolved Meghan Markle of her behavior, but the palace looked so bad that they had to keep it quiet because they couldn't protect their staff, and they had a principal, somebody you can't really discipline, abusing staff members, someone with an extreme amount of power abusing people underneath her. And they didn't really have a recourse, and they let it go on for too long, and they couldn't really address the issue. And I hope, and this is what Buckingham Palace should publish, is how they will potentially punish principals in the future. And one of the things I think they should do is go, well, if you're going to treat people poorly, you're going to lose your titles. That's how they should have done it. So Meghan strenuously denied the allegations at the time, denounced them as part of a calculated smear campaign. In all, Hollywood Reporter article was just a kind of unflattering hit piece, which you might expect the talent agency WME to have strangled at birth for their client, Meghan. One senior Hollywood publicist tells me, first of all, everyone industry-wide, everyone reads the Hollywood Reporter. It's really striking that WME did not stop it running. She adds, WME normally, you would think, would have been threatening and denying access to other stars. Was this done here? The only thing the Sussexes could rally with was no comment at this time from a spokesperson. I think it just said to current spokesperson, which is really bad. But this is so key. So there's a couple of options here. Number one, WME knew they really didn't have a recourse. So they're like, well, you guys have to deal with it. Two, that they have dropped Meghan because she's not worth anything. You can't make any money off her. Here's the thing. She generates a lot of headlines, but none of that turns into profit for anyone. Not really even Meghan. Like, except for maybe her merching, and which she's getting more and more blatant about. I mean, that's it. That's it. There's nothing else. But the third option, which I might argue is actually the most plausible, is that she's still signed with them, but they're immensely frustrated with her. And they saw the article and they're like, yep. Or maybe even they contributed to it themselves. They've seen her behavior. They are not impressed. And they've seen her output. Again, Hollywood is willing to forgive a lot of sins. You have to be good, though. She's not good in terms of talent. She's not making anyone any money. People are willing to look the other way for a lot of things. They've done it for years with some of the big hitters in Hollywood because they were talented. They made people money. They had respect. She doesn't have any of that. So they were just like, yeah, let it run. Like, what can we do? She's not worth it to protect. That's the thing. She wasn't worth protecting, which is wild when you think about it. Perhaps even worse, it came only weeks after another takedown in an industry publication that was part of the feature about the worst deals of the peak TV period, which ran on the Hollywood News website Puck, which I actually did a video on, so I will include a link to that. And I hopefully earlier in the video linked to the initial video I did about the palace being right about Meghan, which is what basically the Hollywood Reporter article revealed. Again, the site run by former Hollywood Reporter editor Matt Belloni and 250,000 subscribers is a must-read in the industry. Harry and Meghan's reported $100 million Netflix deal, which runs out next September, was mentioned in the same breath as Fleabag creator Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who signed a mega deal with Amazon in 2019 that has yet to yield a single minute of television drama. Published on August 20th, it astoundingly also misspelled Archwell, which is a terrible, horrible, bad name, and put Archwell. Oh gosh, she is so terrible at naming things. She really is. Of Harry and Meghan, it notes the streamer is not expected to renew its 5-year, $100 million deal signed in 2020. Meghan's passion project, the animated kids show Pearl, has already been canceled. Senior producer says, I don't think mainstream Hollywood ever took them seriously. And the thing is, Harry and Meghan had the opportunity to change that, because I'm not surprised that initially the industry didn't take them seriously, because it doesn't take everyone seriously, but you prove it by producing good work, and then you get the respect of people. Harry and Meghan just demanded and assumed respect rather than trying to earn it. And because of that, once things are starting to fall apart, there's nobody really around to defend them or really stick up for them in a way and tell them, oh, they have done such great work, because there's not really any great work anyone can point to because they've performed so poorly and they actually lived down to everyone's expectations instead of exceeding their expectations. From day one, Archwell felt to most industry onlookers more like a brand building exercise than a genuine production operation. Netflix were handing out vanity deals like candy at the time, and so everyone just shrugged their shoulders and assumed their company wouldn't get much done despite the generous backing. But even Harry and Meghan's naysayers would have been shocked at how little they've actually achieved, which is key. They haven't, I mean, like they've hardly achieved anything. Like the amount of money they have, like compared to me, I do this myself. I edit, I film, I well, I have my lights stagnant, my camera and everything, but I do everything myself. The amount of content I'm able to produce myself, and Megan can't do a podcast and a short cooking show because I doubt that thing's more than 8 episodes, maybe 10. She can't do those things at the same time. She could barely get a podcast out. They could barely get documentaries together. And yes, so some of those things do take time, but it seems like there's just nothing going on. And I'm sorry. Yes, you can do documentaries, but generally they won't be super successful. You actually have to do scripted programming. That is the most successful. I love watching documentaries. I watched some of them multiple times, but honestly, usually they're just a one and done type of thing. If you have a good scripted program, people watch it again and again and again. They haven't done anything of that. They haven't made any moves of that. The only thing they did was secure the rights to something, but Netflix holds it. And it's Meet Me at the Lake, the book. The sequel to that was actually picked up by Amazon. It already has a director, it already has a script writer. It's like well into production. And as far as we're aware, we have nothing in production for Meet Me at the Lake. Nothing. Because Harry and Meghan apparently really suck at this. And everybody knows it. This is not maybe outside people, maybe the Sussex Squad people are so impressed, but people within the industry, the people they need to impress, the people they need at their backs, they're not impressed by Harry and Meghan. And they get less and less impressed as each day goes on. And they're thinking to themselves, why the heck are they getting all this money to sit on their butts when I'm working as hard as humanly possible and I only get 1% of what they're getting? And that's a way to really ruffle the wrong feathers. Because guess what? The person who might be an extra on the show one day might be the big star the next. And so you need to keep everyone in your good graces in Hollywood because you might be surprised where some people end up. And Harry and Meghan, again, they've approached all of this as the most arrogant people you could possibly be. And in the most austere climate of 2024, when thousands of people have lost their jobs and the entertainment industry economy is struggling, there's now a genuine dislike and distrust towards them by some. And I don't blame anyone. The reason is because they haven't done anything. And they are getting these major deals. They can't seem to move any. They're like so slow with production. People are looking at them thinking, I can't believe they're getting all this and they can't accomplish anything. Like, what is going on? And people don't trust their judgment. And the Hollywood Reporter piece re-emphasize that, saying they are poor decision makers, which we've seen. I've called Meghan out time and time again for terrible management of American Riviera Orchard. That thing is horribly managed so far. And the whole industry knows that too, because they're better business people than I am. A lot of them looking at that going, she launched it with just a name and nothing, and then she gave out jam. I can go to the farmer's market and get better jam. Why am I supposed to buy this jam just because a duchess's name on it? It's just so terrible. All of which might make their handlers feel a little nervous about the fate of that cookery show, which will embrace Meghan's love of gardening, entertaining, and friendship alongside recipes. It is yet untitled, and it's going to flop because she's not, unfortunately, authentic. And a show like that requires authenticity. If she is too fake and too contrived on it, it will flop. And if she makes very basic recipes, I mean, to be fair to Pippa Middleton, she wrote a cookbook, everything, or like a party book called Celebrate. Everything was really, really basic and simple and what everyone knew. And it flopped hard. We might get the same thing here from Meghan. The show will mark a significant moment for Meghan as it's going to launch her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. The brand was announced in April, but so far there are no products and no announced partners. As their efforts in TV production, it seems to be moving with glacial slowness. All that has happened so far is that lawyers acting for the Duchess have sought to trademark the name and logo for dozens of uses and not been approved on various grounds. Not perhaps the most promising start. No, it's not. And it's playing out this way because she announced it before securing any of this. Again, it was a stupid business decision. Netflix is understood to have offered to run ARO brand for Meghan, which makes sense as it has a huge experience of global marketing and merchandising. Okay, I want to stop here because I don't think that's true. Netflix licenses stuff to things. They're not a production house. That's not what they do. They produce content, but they don't produce products. Those are two different things. So what you want to do if you're Netflix is you can produce some of it yourself, but that might be a risk you don't wanna take. And so what you can do is you can license it to people, and they can do all of that, and you reap the benefits. That's one of the things in Shark Tank that you'll see a lot of is the guy Kevin. They call him Mr. Wonderful, even though he's kinda sorta not. But one of his big thing he does all the time is licensing. How can we license this? And because if you control it, then you're responsible for everything, and that becomes hard. You need to license it. He says that over and over and over and over again. And so I don't think Netflix is merchandising, they are licensing. That is my personal opinion. I don't know that for sure. I could be totally wrong, but I think they're licensing things out to people and reaping the benefits. That's a smart thing to do because you can't produce it all yourself. And if you do, like there's might be some things where you can keep control over, but you can let somebody else do that merchandising part because that's not the business they're in. They're in the business of producing content, not merchandise. And Netflix boss Ted Sandros in London this week for the Royal Television Society conference is a voice on her side. He said of Meghan, I've been out with a lot of famous people before. The way that people react to Meghan is otherworldly. So I'm just curious what exactly he means by that. Is that because my initial impression was that he gets such a negative reaction when people meet her, or he's trying to pump her up saying, oh, the people are so entranced by her or something. I don't really see that at all. But I think what he's reacting to, maybe, and I could be wrong. So, guys, let me know what you think, kind of, because it's not really clear. But she is a very, very polarizing person. And so you get either people who love her or hate her. There's like no in between. And that's terrible for someone you're trying to market in business. And of course, he's going to put a positive spin on her. He has a potential $100 million investment in them. And so he's going to say that. But I think people just don't like her, and that just doesn't play well overall. What are we to expect from Megan's cookery offering? The episodes are being directed by veteran Michael Steed, who worked with the revered chef Anthony Bourdain. The showrunner with overall responsibility for it is yoga enthusiast Leah Hurton, who previously made Selena Plus Chef in 2020, featuring actress Selena Gomez. The shows are being produced for Netflix by the Intellectual Property Corporation, an offshoot of Sony Pictures Television. This is huge. This actually goes against kind of what Ted Sandros is saying, because he's saying one thing, but actually something else is happening, which is that they're needing production partners now, which cuts their profits if these things do well. But they need production partners because Netflix allowed them to do 3 things on their own, and they all bombed. Well, except for the one. But they all knew that one was going to work. But it wasn't well done, and they knew that. It didn't get any awards. So they had the next 2 total and complete failures and bombs. So they're like, okay, you can't do this on your own anymore. You have to have production partners, which again means that Harry and Meghan are losing profits and they're losing some control. Netflix is like, we want more control over this. We want better hands in charge of this than yours because your hands are not good. A lot of less trust there. Archibald's head of unscripted content, Chanel, will be one of the executive producers, as will Meghan. Usually none of this information has been lodged with the production website IMDb, which is what you would expect to happen as standard. It's a very Meghan way of working. She likes to keep everything she can secret until the last possible moment to build tension, but it doesn't work. Again, she comes at this with an immense level of arrogance, and she keeps working at this as if she is royalty. She's not royalty anymore. She's a Hollywood celebrity. She needs to work like that. When she's not working like that, it shows and it's bad. Her working practices, according to a source with direct knowledge, are a little unorthodox. And Hollywood is fine with unorthodox if it succeeds, but it's not succeeding. And I think unorthodox is a way of saying she's really crappy at this. And she's doing unorthodox things because she has no idea what she's doing. And we totally see that. I'm told there is little separation between different projects and different arms of Archwell. So those involved in TV production can find themselves talking about charity work and vice versa, which is not really how things work. It's not good. I've even found it. You need really some great focus in your initial drives. They're trying to do too much and failing at all of it. And they need to stop with this fake altruism. It's not working. It's not working. And they're doing it to make them look good, but they're also doing it because I think in some ways they hope it pays or something. Like they're still acting like they're reals, and none of this stuff is paying. I know somebody on Twitter, Real T, I think it is. And they talk about how, oh, well, if Harry and Meghan just did the charity stuff, Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, sure, but that thing doesn't make them money. That's the problem. None of that makes them money. They need to make money. And so they've got to do things this way. Along with the desire for secrecy about project, there is a passionate engagement with the manner and timing of many announcements. There are no offices. The couple take meetings at home, both often barefoot. Well, sometimes, it might be a good idea to actually get into the office and work. But she also takes meetings in Los Angeles and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just none of this is working. And the secrecy is not working for her. It's not working for her. She needs to move on to something else. So at one point, there was an office in Malibu, but the lease expired. And yes, the source says that decision making is a problem for them, which 100% I agree with because you see them and you see the decision making process is poor. They make poor decisions all the time. For the cookery show, which will be accompanied by a cookbook, I hear Meghan is taking advice from model Chrissy Teigen, who did a much better job actually promoting American Riviera Orchard Jam that probably Meghan Markle could ever do, who's made cookery shows and released cookbooks herself in the past. That was before she was an alleged online bully and she got sort of canceled. Nobody wanted to watch her stuff anymore. Yeah, that's the person you should be talking to, right? Right? That's the person. Terrible. She and Meghan seem to have become close. She was given some of the ARO. On Meghan's other side include the Kardashian matriarch Kris Jenner, who I don't think like they run in some of the same circles, but Kris Jenner is smart enough not to really associate with Meghan. Like even her little promotional, like she did take a picture of ARO and post it, but it was on stories, so that means it disappeared after 24 hours. Like she was not highly engaged in it. And again, that's a problem. You got Ellen DeGeneres, who has essentially been canceled because of her horrible treatment of staff. So Meghan attracts like a bully attracts other bullies to be friends with. Alleged bullies. And so another is makeup magnate Victoria Jackson, whose brand she plugged for free by wearing it at the EPSEA's Awards in July because she wants to borrow her private jet. I think some of Meghan Markle's biggest friendships are people she wants to borrow their private jet from. Where Harry won an award, Meghan allowed her makeup artist and Ms. Jackson to post on Instagram about it, of course, because she wants to merge. She's trying to make money off of it because it's the only way she can make money now. Also, Tyler Perry is some of their friends, but other notable friends have fallen away. The Clooneys, who attended their 2018 wedding and hosted the couple in Lake Como the summer after, seem to have less connection to them nowadays. Yeah, we haven't heard them being connected to anything. Harry and Meghan were not at all. It's not worthwhile to talk about this award that the Clooneys were at, but they have had no conversations basically about them. The Obamas haven't been pictured for them in years. They weren't invited to Brock's 60th birthday. So this one's really interesting, I find. Music producer David Foster was once spoken as a father figure for Harry. His wife went to high school with Meghan. They had a number of double dates in 2020, but aren't seen out with them anymore. And the couple weren't among the talking heads on the Harry and Meghan documentary in 2022. Why? Because people tend to fall out with them after they've become less useful or other people don't think they're useful. At the ESPY Awards, Meghan wore a stud dress by Ari Emanuel's wife, Sarah Stottinger. It was a canny piece of flattery, but it's clear that what she really needs now is a hit. And I have been saying this for a long time. They need a hit. ARO, I don't think is going to be it. And I don't think they'll get really many chances after that. They need ARO to be a massive smashing success. If heaven forbid, one of the first products that comes off of it is a disaster, faulty in some ways, doesn't taste good, has any sort of mixed reaction, like she's done. She needs her first product to be so flawless, nobody has any complaints. And she even needs to prove her naysayers wrong. I just don't think she can do it. And that is just a huge, huge hurdle for her to overcome. That it must be perfect because it has to be perfect. It can't be anything else but perfect because that's the situation she set up for herself at this point because she's handled it so badly. And Hollywood, again, is aware of this. They're aware of the failure. They're watching it in real time and just so frustrated that Harry and Meghan can't seem to, and so frustrated that Harry and Meghan, despite all the advantages they've had in the world and all the opportunities that they've had, have squandered them so badly because there's so many other people in the industry who I think are infinitely more talented, more hardworking than Harry and Meghan, who have not been given similar deals. And they're watching these two spoiled people who have seemingly zero talent in this industry make all this money for nothing. Now, I don't think they've actually been given a cash lump payment of $100 million. They were going to get it partially over the years, but I doubt even they've gotten half of that. I really doubt they've received half of that, if even. I mean, my guess would be at this point with the pitiful pitiful rollout of what they had. I mean, the max I could see is maybe 25 million, maybe. Because Harry and Meghan's show was a hit, but the documentaries are pretty cheap to make and they'll get things to cover production costs and their own salary, but not much beyond that. So some of that money will be eaten up in production costs. Like if they've been getting 50 million out of this thing, I would be like, are you insane? Are you insane, Netflix? Are you just burning money? Because they definitely are not worth $50 million. But I think 25 million, I would say, is a safe conservative estimate of about how much they've made. Not how much they made, how much of that production lump sum that they could possibly get. Some of that's been eaten up in production costs, which should be pretty cheap because they're documentaries. And then on top of that, you have the salaries of people. And then you have the cut, I think the bonus that Harry and Meghan got for having a really successful documentary. And that is my understanding of how Netflix deals work. And that does make sense because you're not just going to give somebody $100 million without any guarantee of anything. It's going to be something that's wrapped up in meeting a whole lot of metrics. And they've barely made any of those metrics. And so Netflix is like, okay, you've got this one last shot. Hulu is not going to do it. It's a terrible idea. Netflix probably knows it's a terrible, horrible idea, but it doesn't have, like, what else do they have? These two people are kind of useless in this industry. They don't seem to know what to do. And they keep choosing poor things because, again, they want to, I say this all the time, they want to straddle both worlds. They want to be royals and they want to be celebrities. And it doesn't work. And because of that, their output, the things that they produce, all these sorts of things suffer because they're so arrogant and conceited in trying to keep their royal status, which doesn't even exist anymore, to actually put in the good effort behind the products they're promoting. I mean, if I was Netflix and watching them do this unbelievably stupid tour of Colombia and then of Nigeria too, I'm like, what is this for? What are you doing with any of this? This is dumb. This is a waste of time. It's not going to make you any money. It's not making us any money. That's the thing too. Other people's money is on the line. And they're looking at the two of them going, I'm wasting money on you. I'm wasting money on you. You're not giving me results. You're not giving me the things I need. You're not giving me any of these things. And then you're complaining that you're not getting enough money. I don't think they're complaining about that necessarily, but it's like they're complaining they're not getting these opportunities. They're like, well, we can't give you these opportunities. The reason is that you're so crummy at your output production and the final quality of the product. And we have to deal with 12 people every time you're in production because you keep losing people. Again, Hollywood has had enough. They're speaking out. They're going, yeah, we've seen Harry and Meghan. We've worked with them. We're not impressed. And again, I've got to say, everyone's kind of realizing the palace and the British press were probably right about Harry and Meghan, that this sob story they shared about how they were ostracized and criticized and all the terrible treatment of them, maybe just maybe it's true. Maybe just maybe they're sort of kind of terrible at this. And everyone in the industry knows it. And they're just not interested in playing the Harry and Meghan games anymore. So, guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of Harry and Meghan's really disastrous time in Hollywood so far. Can they right the ship, or are they doomed to sink much like the Titanic? I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you again for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye.